Hey folks, Mark Larson here again, doing another weekly shop update. This last week we've been really busy. First off, as I promised at the end of the last video, here is a little sign that we did last week. I had to hold on to it for just a little bit, but you can see it up over here. It ended up turning out really nice. The one problem that we had with it is, turns out I should have been a little more concerned about weight on the sign. I just kind of didn't worry about it. Didn't realize it would be an issue, but when the sign company went to install it, I guess they had some minor problems finding a strong enough beam to hook some eye hooks into in order to hang it. They ended up getting it up, and I think it looks good. I think it'll help draw some attention to the store that's in front of, and that'll be a good thing. Besides that, we went, and this week we weren't so much in the shop as we were out finishing a floor down in Cloquet. We painted some walls, we sanded, stripped, and refinished hardwood floor. I think it turned out really nice. The original floor there was kind of a lighter color. A lot of the finish had faded in places around where, say, carpets had been, and around windows and that kind of stuff. And you can see it kind of patchworked in there. After we finished it, we put a little darker color, a little bit of red kind of is mixed in with the stain. I think it gives it kind of a warm feeling. The customer really seems to like it, and hopefully it'll hold up for a long time. Kind of took Sunday off. It was nice to finally take a day off here. But then this morning, we made a quick order for some name tags on the laser. I'll pop up a little video here as I tell you about it, of them getting made. It was just a neat little project. They were real small. I think they were 1 3/4 by 3.5 or so, something like that. And it was just little name tags to identify the employees, or not so much employees, but those that are working in the store as opposed to the customers, and they turned out nice also. Well, we've been working now. I did some of the cutting for these chairs that I'm doing for Resort up on Vermilion, for the retreat lodge up there. I'll recommend it to anybody if you're looking for a good place to go fishing. But we're working on, right now, this is part of the seat for some of the chairs. I'm making some seat blanks up. They're going to be, the blanks are 18 inches deep, and it's going to be 22 inches wide. I got to put it on the planer. I got to glue these up together. And I just kind of show you a little bit of my process here as I go. I'm just buying some ordinary number 2 treated pine at the home center. And what I'm doing, because I want to have some real clear pine to work with, is I take and out of this kind of knotty pine, I go and I cut some clear pine out of it, because I don't need them to be all that long. This square that I'm using is 18 inches, so it works out just perfect for me. Mark it at the ends, and I've been able to get, on just about all these here, I can get 3 pieces out of a 8-foot board. And you see how I just kind of work around. I don't have a real set thing. It's wherever the knots lie, that's where they lie. Actually, this one here, I'm going to move this one over just a little bit to give this knot a little more leeway. I like to give a little space if I can, so that if there is any kind of weird grain happening by the knot, we're able to work around it. And then I will go ahead, put some ear protection on, and I'll go and cut these. Right now I'm adjusting the depth on skill saw so that way it doesn't go any deeper into the sawhorse if necessary. CNCs are really crucial on these because I'm going to cut them again later. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these blanks once they're glued up. I'm going to put them on the CNC. That way it can give that nice little kind of butt contour that you often see on a wood chair. It makes it just a little bit more comfortable. The next step now is I'm going to spin you around and I'm going to run a couple of these through the joiner. That's right behind you, so it'll be just a moment. Well, folks, here's we have a big stack of these to do because we've got 9 chairs that we're doing up. But I'll do just a couple of them and it'll give you a good idea of how we do this. We run these boards through the joiner before we edge glue them together. That way the edges will be nice and square and it'll give a real nice glue line together, and hopefully we can hide that glue line well. And it'll be just nice and secure that way. So let's go ahead and join these. And there's a couple of them done. But you know, I got an awful lot of these to do and they got to get done tonight. I got to get them glued up. So I'll just speed you up and I'm going to go ahead and readjust this a little bit so I can do it a little faster and get them all done tonight. Well, that takes care of that. One of the joys of being a production shop is that you oftentimes end up doing batches of projects, batches of pieces, rather than working on a big variety of pieces. We were able to batch this out here. Then I will take you back across the room again over to our assembly area. Actually, I'll probably do it on the workbench instead of the assembly bench. And we'll start gluing these things together and see how far we can get before we run out of clamps. Okay now, assembling these. As I assemble them, I'm going to use a Gorilla Glue. Gorilla is just a brand, but this one that I'm using is a polyurethane glue. It's extremely strong. It's also exceptionally messy to deal with, so if you don't have to work with it, don't. But since this is going to be some outdoor bar stools, I'm using the Gorilla Glue because it's pretty impervious to weather and it'll bond well to this kind of wet treated lumber. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get my pipe clamp set up. Sometimes they get stuck. You give them a little tap backwards like that, it'll free them up. Open them up to get started. And I'll grab a couple off the top here. Take a look and decide on what is the nicest one. And guess what, guys? I gotta go and use some bigger clamps. Doesn't really matter, we got a big pile of them right here. Shows you that, just shows you I'm trying to get this done a little more than I'm trying to make a video of it, because I'm having some carpal tunnel surgery tomorrow morning on my right hand, and I'd like to get as much of this as I can done up before I'm laid up for a little bit. So what we do, whenever you use a polyurethane glue, you have to wet the wood before you use it. It seems kind of weird and counterintuitive, but you just keep a little spray bottle, you get a little wet. Then take the glue, hopefully this one isn't a really old one. Comes out real thick like a honey. And you smear it across. And you put them together. I like to give them, whether it's this or whatever glue, if I'm not spreading it thoroughly, I like to give it a little back and forth, a little smear. Then I'll just line them up nice. Make sure everything's nice and square, and give it a little crank. Most of the time, I end up adding or putting a clamping pad on the outside of the stuff like this. But on this time, I'm not really worrying too much about it, because like I said, I'm going to CNC these seats. And as you can see, the seats are quite oversized at the moment. So, I know I'm going to have to cut off a lot, so I really don't care if I dent the end. And I decided for my purposes for these seats, I would rather make them oversized now and then cut them to shape later. Because it'd be pretty easy for me to do on the CNC for the way I'm going to be making these. I'm looking around, as usual I lost stuff. Mark, my son's over there. Mark, would you be able to hand me one of those 4-foot rulers that are hanging up on the wall over there? One lesson to learn. Always remember to gather all of your tools before you start building a project. Or, if you can't gather all your tools before you build a project, have one of your kids in here to help you. And then be a gopher. And that is a mile off a square. So I gotta square that back up. Looks like I got to adjust a clamp first. So, one of the things I really like about these pipe clamps, they are cheap. They're nice and cheap, which is good, and they're quite strong. They're really definitely not a high-end kind of thing to have in the shop. I'd love to have a really nice big set of bar clamps, cabinet clamps, something like that. But these work quite well. You can beat them up a little bit. They're cheap, so you can have a lot of them. And when the length is wrong, you go ahead and you add a different length of pipe, and the length is all of a sudden magically correct. Plus, you can sometimes they'll bend as you crank. All clamps will, but you can notice it on the pipe clamps. And you can sometimes play that bend and use it to help get tweaks out of glue ups like this. And that still has a lot of tweak to it. So I'm going to loosen the bottoms. Typically, you want to tighten the one that's on the opposite side of the bend. Sometimes a nice smack will do her up. It's still a bit too far up, but we're going to be taking an awful lot off of this, so it'll end up working out all right. Well, I'll get back to that in just a minute after I let you guys go here for the night. Coming up, yeah, like I said, that Gorilla Glue gets all over the place. Coming up here over the next week, like I said, since I'm having this carpal tunnel surgery tomorrow, that's going to lay me up for a little bit, slow me down for a little bit. But it shouldn't be too bad. I'm hoping to be able to do a lot of things with my left hand for the next little bit. I think I think they said that I got to have a little weight restriction for 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks on my right hand. That I think I can work around quite a bit. My kids are on spring break this week, so they've been helping me out, trying to get ahead here and doing a few things, and hopefully it won't take that long, and hopefully I can do a little bit of design work maybe with my left hand. We're trying to get some programs written up so that way we can use the CNC to make a bunch of games that we'll have for sale on Etsy and at craft shows, maybe eventually on our website here. And you can always contact me on Facebook or at mark@frostbitefurniture.com or any other way, and you can ask about games that are for sale and other projects that are for sale. Go ahead, and if you don't see anything you're looking for, just go ahead and ask, and we can make just about anything. Well, thanks for listening. I hope you have a good day and a good night, and I'll talk to you in a week. All right, bye-bye.